Hey everyone, welcome to what I think I've just decided I'm going to call the Amplified Expert podcast. Not this is important enough for a new show all by itself. So I'm going to put this in the normal 90-minute books feed. So hi to all the 90-minute books crowd. But I think this where we're going is worthwhile to create a whole new show by itself. So Aalok Y Shukla, great to have you as a first guest. We go back a long way. I'm excited to share what we were just talking about with people. So why don't you give everyone a quick introduction in case they haven't crossed paths with you before?
Of course, always a pleasure to catch up with you, Stuart. So my name's Alok, and I'm co-founder of Implement AI. In the UK, my co-founder is Piers Linney. He was on Shark Tank in the UK, so if you're English, you might know who he is. And we're helping businesses implement AI. And Stuart, we've been talking about technology for many, many years, and we've done different things in the past. And yeah, just our conversations about like where technology is going and voice AI in particular, and the whole reinvention of interfaces and the way we interface with technology and how things make it easier. It's super fascinating. So I thought it's great to catch up with you and go through because there were so many use cases we were literally talking through just a few days ago, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it. So I think having access to such a broad customer base on the book side of the business gives us kind of like 1,000 different use cases where all of these ideas, this opportunity to amplify your voice and implement these AI tools is such a good jumping off point for conversations because it takes you out of your immediate thought zone on your own business into all of these different clients who have written books and their individual cases. So let's we as we
Well,
do, this
let's
is the
start.
this is the
This is
dive
this
in
is
and the raw example of the idea that we're sharing with people. So I think for the podcast, we'll insert some video and some clips afterwards. But maybe the first one that I'll insert is your LinkedIn post from a couple of days ago that had your mom talking to the voice system. So maybe give a bit of a background on the voice system generally, and then we can talk.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So so basically, we work with voice AIs and we create voice AI agents, which can be at the end of a phone line or on a computer screen, like on a website, and you can literally just talk to it. And I gave it to my mum to basically like see how she would feel about interacting with it, the technology. And it was literally acting as a sales assistant. And she found it very empathetic and it responded in a nice way. And she found it quite intuitive and easy to use as well. And she said it was much friendlier than a lot of the bank ones and things which tend to only ask you information and don't give you anything back. So the difference in the interface now is with generative AI, you can actually be more personal and convey some warmth. I've got some little other distinctions where I feel that tone is more important than accent. She was using one which still had a Australian accent, but it was still, very warm. Now we've got an English accent one. But I would ask you, Stuart, you did a call with our AI, isn't it? Right? Like,
Yeah.
why don't you tell everyone like how you found it? Because you also tried to trip it up a few places as well, isn't it?
Only in a nice way. I was trying to feel for where the boundaries were, not necessarily push it over. Um, the so you sent me the link a week or so ago, and then just before we spoke the other day, I dialed into the system. Can you get access to that audio recording as well, or do you just get the
I
transcript?
can, I can. Yeah, no, no, I've got
Shoot
it. I'll
me,
give it to you.
yeah, shoot me that audio, and then I'll insert it here, and then if I get the timeline right, people will can now just listen to it, and then I'll talk about it, and they can join a couple of seconds later, so understand what we were talking about.
Hi, this is Jess from Implement AI. I'm an AI specialist here to help you discover the best opportunities to implement artificial intelligence in your business. Can you tell me your...
Yes, Stuart. The company name is 90-Minute Books.
That's interesting. 90-minute books? I assume you specialize in creating books quickly. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's impressive. Creating books in such a short amount of time can be a game changer for authors and businesses. Are you looking to use artificial intelligence to grow sales or reduce costs?
Yeah, potentially. Just have more access to the more touch points for the customers, so people can phone and get through to a voice rather than just an email.
That's a great idea, Stuart. Using AI to enhance customer touchpoints can significantly improve customer experience and engagement. May I ask what your role is in the company?
Yeah, I own the company.
Thank you, Stuart. As the head of the company, you're in a prime position to steer its growth. Could you tell me a bit about the challenges your company is currently facing?
Yeah, just having enough touch points with customers so that they're confident to move forward. I think a lot of people have thought about making the choice to write a book as a lead generation tool, but often it goes on the back burner. So really just speed up that process to from the idea to them pulling the trigger and getting started.
Thank you for sharing that, Stuart. It sounds like one of the main challenges your company is facing is the need for more touch points with customers to build confidence and encourage them to move forward with writing a book. Speeding up the process from idea to execution is crucial. Where specifically do you see the opportunity for artificial intelligence's potential applications in your business?
From our perspective, it's definitely the case that we can use it in our sales funnel for calls like this, but then also helping people with their ideation and refining their thoughts into a more compelling funnel. So there's two sides, for us and then for the clients.
Interesting insights, Stuart. Using AI in your sales funnel and to help with ideation can certainly streamline processes and make them more efficient. Have you or your team undergone any training in AI or related technologies?
Yes.
That's helpful to know, Stuart. Having some training in AI or related technologies can definitely give you a head start in implementing AI solutions effectively. One last question. Is your goal to stay informed and ahead in your industry, or are you looking to be a leader and leverage AI for a competitive edge?
The latter.
That's great to hear, Stuart. Being a leader and leveraging AI for a competitive edge can truly transform your business. When were you looking to implement AI in your business?
As soon as it makes sense.
Thank you for these valuable insights, Stuart. Based on what you've shared, Implement AI can assist you in streamlining your sales funnel, enhancing ideation processes, and ultimately helping you become a leader in your industry by leveraging AI for a competitive edge. Would you like to schedule a consultation with our experts to explore this further?
That's okay. I've got a call with Aalok this afternoon scheduled already.
Perfect, Stuart. It sounds like you're already on the right track. We're looking forward to speaking with you and Alex this afternoon. We'll be in touch, and remember, you can hang up at any time. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Stuart. If you have any questions before the call, feel free to reach out. Goodbye for now.
So knowing that it was an AI, I went into the conversation trying to be as testing it in a real scenario, so as if I didn't know. And I think the two things that jumped out at the end of the process were, one, how good the voice is. I mean, I think now we're past the point where you can really detect the difference between a live human voice and an AI voice. I was on separately on a call yesterday. There's a quick AI course I was part of over the last couple of days, and one of their examples, they just started talking about generative visual models, and they said, okay, here's a quick quiz, click on these 10 images, tell me which one's generated and which one's real. And I mean, you really couldn't tell the difference. In fact, that got funny because as we were talking in the group, we were saying, well, the eye on that image looks a little bit off, but then we suddenly realized that, well, that means it's probably real because the generated one is probably a little bit more perfect. And now it feels like we're just picking on someone's picture. So anyway, from the voice perspective, it's the same. You really can't tell the difference. And the thing that stood out to me as the use case was its ability to interpret the answers and not just go down a very scripted yes or no answer. So I gave it some very short answers, and it elaborated on what I'd said in a meaningful way. And I gave it a couple of very long answers, or answering one question with two different perspectives. And it was able to respond and give a response just as you would expect a human to do, by understanding that they were two different things and talking about them in that context. So when I think about it and the use case for people listening now, they might have thought about voice prompt systems as, like you say, a bank, press 1, press 2, press 3, which is very...
Do you want this? Do you want
exactly.
that? Like completely
Speak
robotic.
after the tone. Yeah, exactly. Robotic, scripted, very narrow.
No.
For most of us as business owners in the audience that we're talking to now, it's not really that relevant because we're just not trying to push that much volume through those small pipes. But this was really an eye-opener to say, okay, whether you're a dentist and trying to schedule appointments, or whether you're a beautician salon and you've got some open appointments and you want to make outbound
HVAC.
Yeah.
you want to call back leads for your like your heating, I won't pretend to know what the rest of the VAC stands for, but like
That's
ventilation and air conditioning.
right.
Like,
Yeah. Well,
but
that's
like,
it. In the UK, air conditioning does exist, but that's why you don't know what that is.
but yeah, like, but like, or even like real estate agents, like we talked about, or even like people who maybe are inactive customers, they want to be reactivated. I think the differentiation and the distinction between those kind of like automated systems, which is like press one after the tone, to this actually is the AI playing the role of what you want it to play. So we literally set it up to be almost a sales assistant for Implement AI in that example that you interact with. It was asking you questions about where your pain points are, what you're looking for, and also, whether you're looking to be a leader or also, stay, ahead of the curve. And all those answers where you're having a conversation back, you get way more data and way more analytics than if you ask someone to fill out a form, which might be, are you looking to do this or that? You
Right.
lose
Just the
all of
yes,
the
no.
bandwidth and the nuance of all of the intent. And with
Yeah.
this, I think it's amazing for capturing all the intent. And I'm not even going to get into the fact that you can run it through analytics afterwards for advanced sentiment, tone across 48 emotional dimensions to analyze that even more. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. But the bottom line is people actually, when they're talking back and forth and would you like an appointment, would you like to do this? I see it as a nice step between the purely digital online world or the print world and like the real person online consultation or in-person consultation or whatever. It's a hybrid step that you can access digitally 24/7, any place, anytime, but it will reply to you with the personality of the business and you capture a lot of intent. So I just felt that adds another like nice step in that whole
Yeah.
process, isn't it,
And
basically?
it really makes it more real and more human in the sense that you've got much more of a two-way conversation. And although I think still it maybe makes sense that people identify that it is AI versus a human, although I mean that's borderline, you can really get away with not doing that. Um, but I think from the overall where this fits in your funnel, it maybe makes sense to suggest that this is an agent doing a particular role and not an open-ended conversation on
Yeah.
anything. But to be able to extract that, I mean, even going into this, so there was maybe I was on the phone for maybe 3 minutes. Again, people will have listened to
Yeah.
it by this point in the conversation. But by the end of it, I don't know that I'd say that I'd completely forgotten I was talking to an agent, but it certainly wasn't front and center in my mind. Um, there's maybe the tone and pace of the conversation was very normal. I mean, maybe if you were really dialed in and being picky, the response where it's
Sure.
waiting to know if I've stopped talking, it's kind of holding off a little bit. But I mean, this is really going into it knowing that it is and looking for where the edges are rather than just answering a phone call and seeming to be speaking to someone. So what might be useful is I can think of two examples that really immediately sprung to mind for the audience listening here of how it could fit into that funnel. So the first one, talking about book clients. So for anyone who's written a book, I'm going to use Paul Ross as an example. So he's a podiatrist up in the Northeast. We've done a couple of podcasts with him in the past. So I'll link back to his previous show as well as just in the show notes if people want to get up to speed with what he does. So his latest book, he's written several with us, but his latest one is My Damn Toe Hurts. And it's about non-surgical interventions to toe pain, not quite arthritis, but that kind of, again, I'm immediately forgetting the exact specifics of what it is, but toe
I get
pain.
it
So
though.
someone is going to see that ad in their Facebook feed, running a Facebook ad against it, think to themselves, oh, I'm suffering from this problem. That'd be interesting. Opt in through one or two clicks to get a copy of the digital version of the book. An email would be sent out with it. Within Facebook, you've got the opportunity to capture a phone number as well. So let's say that that's the setup. Someone receives the copy of the book, and then the next day receives a phone call from their agent to say,
Correct.
or straight away, even actually. I mean, I'm saying the next day, but
Yeah.
yeah, it could be straight away. Although I'm always kind of on the edge of how creepy do you want to be about, oh, I've just been watching you and saw you click this button, so I'm calling you immediately. So anyway,
All right, 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah. So 10 minutes later, they get a call saying, hey, it's Eric. I work with Paul.
Yeah,
emailed you a copy of the book. I just want to make sure you got that. But also, if you've got a minute, ask you a couple of quick questions. How long have you had the
exactly.
pain for? Is it just isolated to that area? Have you tried any treatment before? Oh, that's great.
What's it stopping you? Is it stopping you from doing anything like something like this? Like, is this how is
Right,
it affecting your life? Like all those high bandwidth, emotional motivation questions. The only place you normally capture that stuff is in a live consultation.
right,
Like generally people will not emote that it's stopping me going dancing or it's my daughter's wedding or this. Like they will never put those things into a form. But
no,
this if you architect the conversation properly and there's a whole art like to that and along with the kind of like the AI persona, you can extract that and then you can then know who is like highly motivated basically, right?
right.
Because
And
ultimately they could even potentially sign up for the service before they receive the book, isn't it, right? Because it depends on like how
right,
long it ships or digital or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Or by the time they've got to their email, or by the time they've made time to, particularly when they're in the moment of being peak interest, because they've just expressed a desire to
It's in
do
your
something about
RAM.
it. Yeah, exactly. The AI agent asking those questions you were talking there about, eliciting the answer that says, "Oh, well, the problem is that it's stopping me from moving around, and my daughter's wedding's in 6 months' time, and I'm concerned that I won't be able to move there." The immediate response is that compassionate immediate response by the agent was able to pull out those elements of the conversation and kind of replay it back to someone. So it really does reinforce the point. And then the call to action at the end of that conversation, having collected that information, could be, "Hey, that's great. It sounds like we can really do something to help you. The next step is to come in for an appointment. So are you available on whatever the time is?" Or the next step would be to schedule a
Exactly.
call.
Yeah, exactly. Or it can even WhatsApp you the booking link, for example, right? And you can just like,
Right.
choose that yourself or whatever like that. So the technology is like moving on quite a lot, basically, right? And
That
it just unlocks so much potential.
and the speed and convenience and even the friendly way of doing it, because it is non-threatening, it is very conversational. To a certain degree, it is kind of rapport building with the brand, because it does feel like it's
It
I
can't
think
get
it is the
upset. It can't go off piste, so
right.
it just stays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not going to have a bad day. So sound like, "Oh God, I've got to phone another customer up," and be frustrated with it. Um, it really is the perfect implementation of this is what you would do as an individual if you had all the bandwidth in the world. It's just now that there's the capability to make sure that it happens and
Yeah.
happens in a timely way.
It even like for example, like with I'm just making it up now, but like say you had like some kind of planning service, like even like a wedding planning service, or even like a kind of design service or anything like this. And normally your expert time to have that conversation, have that meeting is highly bespoke and expensive. But then in between you've got some materials, but you still need to kind of understand what's their vision, what they're trying to do, and all that stuff. You could almost have like this as an AI, guide, talk to my AI guide, and they will give you some tips and give you some advice, but at the same time also it's like just screening in a concerted way so that they
Right.
can understand, okay, like what level of recommendations can you go to and what won't you go beyond. So for example, we built one for a pharmacy, and we built it so that it doesn't cross the line into medical recommendations. It will only stay on the side of over the counter stuff, basically. So it will say for anything which is like crossing that line, you need to talk to a medical professional about it. So you can set the parameters, like to what you want and how helpful you want it to be, basically, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
So
We're both active on LinkedIn, and there are LinkedIn services out there, the sales BD type services that charge a lot of money to do the analysis of clients or potential targets. And those services
okay.
go out there and collect all of this information so that when you make a sales call, you're making it more informed. But the thing that we've just described, turning up to a call as you as the individual with the information from the agent and the analysis around the conversation and the conversational information that comes out from the person answering. I mean, that's very valuable by the time you as an individual actually then speak to the
Yeah, you
person.
know everything.
Yeah,
Because what I find so interesting about this is when I listen to calls with the AI and the person, I can actually get a lot of understanding about what that kind of person that person is from how they interact with it. And at the same time, also, I can see the full transcript, I can see exactly what the answer they did, and I can also see like my summary, which has the key points of whatever there is within it. So you have the ability to almost like the ability to step into their eyes, if you want to say, like, like, or their ears, and have the full analytics of whatever there was, because it's basically a perfect note taker. It's 70% cheaper than an employee that you could redirect your employees to do more high value tasks and things like this. And
Right.
it's consistently working, doesn't go off script. And then you can also then use data to like understand, okay, I had these 4 questions. I'm not getting the kind of answers I wanted back on this. Let me change that question to this question. And then let me see how does that come back with my answers or whatever like this. Or we were talking about consistent commitment and consistency. And I was saying that like if you get someone to like say, yes, I do want to be a market leader, or yes, I do want to be that. We were both saying that like there is something physiologically different in the communication of the person saying that versus just ticking a box or writing something in a checklist on a box, basically. So I
Yeah.
think if you make it easy for people to basically just interact with your business by phone, and they could just literally just talk their ideas whenever they wanted to, even for your book, to be honest, right? Like even just like get some of the ideas and stuff like that out, then it could almost help them organize their thoughts in a way, isn't it? It could always be a partner where they could just
Right.
talk when they've got time to like do the things and then go from there, basically, isn't it? So,
Actually, you've just blown my mind. This is why I love doing these calls, because it's such an opportunity to kind of spark a thought. We were talking yesterday about the idea of having an agent in our funnel as part of the lead flow. So from identifying that they're interested in a subject to almost going through the scorecard methodology, or we've got the 5 book title types methodology, and those both things lend themselves to an agent prompting people through. But actually, from existing clients, from the onboarding perspective, the first step in our process is what we call the I'm forgetting what we call our own forms now. Anyway, the first form that we send people on, hey, you've signed up as a client, you're going to talk with Susan or Christy in the first instance, but they send a questionnaire just to get the high level ideas of what your book's about, so that they join that call. No, yeah, exactly. Set that up as an agent to run through and
yeah.
have it as a pre-onboarding call.
Yeah, and it
So
can be a
much more.
resource, and you can have a resource which is like, would you like an example? Would you like to hear an example? So it could be
Right.
like so for each bit, like if they want to hear an example, they can just say what they want. But if they would you like to hear an example as well, then they could add those into the mix as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Things like scheduling appointments, for going back to that HVAC example. I mean, we know someone, actually, I'll connect you afterwards because it's maybe worth having a conversation with them. So they're in a big healthy home in Tampa. They're a big HVAC and water remediation, and they do a lot of that home install type service. They spend a lot of time outreaching to clients just to reconfirm appointments, get the understanding of what the issue was. This would be a
Yeah,
perfect example for those guys. And then the
true.
the call center people that they've got, like you say, can work on just more high value stuff where there's a lot more discrepancy. But the again, not
The other
script.
thing is that the agents, like humans, have a one-to-one capacity that I can have one conversation at once, right?
Right,
AI can have multiple conversations in parallel. So if like 20 people wanted to call at 11:30 a.m., 20 people can have that perfect call at 11:30 a.m. basically,
right.
like so
It removes that
it's
need to try and synchronize both parties and
you
just when it's
you basically AI gives you capacity and it also gives you productivity. So productivity is getting more stuff done. Capacity is getting more volume done, basically, right? So
right.
it enables you to kind of like scale your outreach or your connections or whatever you want to call it, basically, in that way. And I just think it's just, and it's like 70% cheaper than a human, right? So
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
it's
And all the
and it's not also not
benefits. Yeah.
exactly, and it's like it's just like where could you add it in, which would then add a touch point, customer success, customer support, frontline, asking for reviews, like happy customers, different things. There's so many ways that you could leverage it in a nice touch point, isn't it? So
Yeah. Well, we're in a world now that, like, the people I've spoken to, and I'm sure the UK is still the same as the US has been over the last year or so. Post-pandemic, the biggest complaint I hear from people is the ability to find staff, or find reliable staff. It's not so much that they're not willing to pay. It's not they don't have the work for them. It's just that it's
it's
very
just
difficult to
shortage.
fill. Yeah.
And some tasks and some businesses have like fractional roles. where they don't have enough full-time work maybe, but they'd still like somebody good, isn't it? Right.
Right.
And then the question there is like, I've got, 3, 4 hours worth of work a day for somebody, but I can't get someone that would do that. Like and I want it maybe at the peak time, I don't know, 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. to call people because that's when they would be reached.
Right.
But how do I reach, so there's all sorts of like issues and peculiarities and different things. And, even for e-commerce, right? You've got like people that checked out but didn't fully check out. You could call them and say, like, was there a reason you didn't finish the order? Can I help you complete the order? Was there something different you were looking for or whatever like that? I mean,
Yeah.
if you've got like anything selling of value and you've got lifetime customer value, which is, you want to keep them. I think all these things just help increase trust because also if they're hearing like a very articulate voice and explaining things, it also increases trust in like, okay, they actually have like support, and things like
Yeah.
that, so.
Yeah, the ability to get someone at the end of the phone, even if for certain use cases it's not a real person, it's a pseudo real person.
But it can say that I will pass the message to my team member or my supervisor, and they will be in touch. And then
Right.
that like that was sent basically, right? So
Yeah.
it's logged.
Yeah, the reliability that the message does get passed on to the right person and that feeling of confidence that it gets somewhere. And if that human is then freed up from some of the more mundane duties so that they have got the ability to call those people back, I mean, you know how frustrating it is. You'll phone and leave a message for a company and they just never get back to you. If you can free up that
Yes.
capacity, I mean, that makes such a world of difference.
This is better than voicemail. So this is better than a voicemail, number one. And number two, it's also better than a web form, number two. And number
Right.
three, it's almost like a replacement for like it's an interactive pre-recorded message in a way, if you understand,
Right.
but with a much more, but in a much more artful, skillful way, which can actually use some psychology and interact with your customer the way you want it to,
Yeah,
basically, isn't it?
get that feeling of engagement going on sooner in the process. The other example I thought about, so this I mentioned Paul and how he could use it in the funnel going from the book to the agent to the appointment or person. But the other example that immediately sprang to mind was the realtors that we work with. One of the big complaints I hear is the Zillification of the real estate world. And in that scenario, people are on Zillow, they're clicking the button to say they want to reach out to someone, but Zillow will send it to multiple agents and it's kind of whoever gets there first. So the agents really feel like they're now on call 24/7 because that lead goes cold very
Yeah.
quickly. Imagine being able to have the agent call on your behalf and, hey, it's Eric, I'm
Correct.
calling on behalf of Aalok, saw that you're interested in 123 Main Street. Are you able to see it this week, or is it only townhomes you're interested in, or are you working with another agent at the moment?
Yeah.
That
Do you have your
ability,
mortgage approved already? This, like,
right.
is there anything special consideration because this property is very popular and, like whatever it is, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
And then wrapping up by saying, oh, I'll get Alex to give you a call back, or pointing people to online resources or offering to send them a copy of the book or
yeah, or here's the diary link. You can schedule the thing in right now, basically, like to
right.
visit the place. So you skip a step potentially, isn't it? Right.
Yeah,
Like depending on,
just go
whether
straight
the
to
thing
the
is,
booking.
because you could pre-qualify them in that kind of way, saying, oh, can you just like can you WhatsApp me or or just email me your like this, that, and stuff like that. And then, we've got you listed as a confirmed buyer on our database or whatever it is like that, isn't
Right.
it? So
Yeah. And that expectation or building the relationship with that person immediately, if another agent then phones them, it's far less likely that they're going to go off. They're going to say, I'm working with someone already. So to close that
correct.
gap between someone raising their hand and establishing that relationship with you, this is the perfect example. I mean, we were talking about having the agents in a different voice, which I guess kind of makes sense. But another use case would be to record it in your own voice. I don't know how practical that is
You
within the system,
can.
but yeah, have it in
No,
your
you
own
can.
voice. And
You can have it in any voice. Like the voice that we're using right now is actually one of our team members. I like her voice basically, right? So
right,
we're using a voice.
much better
So
than
she was
my
very
voice.
happy to have that. And
Yeah,
so no, but like but also even accents, right? Like it's been shown that like Scottish accents or Irish accents are perceived as more friendly. And so you can go to a whole nother level if you know what your customer avatar is or this, that, and you're like, okay, I want to have like a friendly, Canadian or, Midwestern or whatever you want, basically, you
I
can
mean,
have, all that basically.
that level of specificity. I mean, talk about dialing in, having a female voice with a northeast accent go into the group of people who come from that area, and Texas accent.
It'll come more over time, but like level one, you could at least as a mass customization say, okay, I want to have a Florida accent or whatever like that for
Right.
my voice for my business or whatever like that, and then I want it to like speak in a rhythm which is going to be like whatever. Everyone's got different cadences and stuff like that, isn't
Right.
it? Right. So
Yeah.
that can be personalized and customized. So it is almost like in the way you want it.
Someone there. Yeah. What about the process? So someone listening to this thinking, oh, this is a great opportunity. I can see where this might sit in the funnel or worth a conversation. A business owner's a commitment or how much effort they need to put into. Obviously, it's not just a flick a button and it's turned on, but
No, but
it's not.
basically what we provide this service, right? So we will work with the business to like set it up, customize it, all that kind of stuff. So our job is to make sure you've got an AI employee which will answer the phone 24/7 or reach out 24/7 or do what you want. And we would set it up in the role that you wanted for that particular workflow. And our recommendation is start with one in one workflow, and then you can have it in that voice. And then you can do other ones in different roles with the same voice or a different voice or whatever you want, basically, right? So it's however you want to do it. But literally think about it like almost like that's an agent in that sitting in that chair, and they will just do the job. They will just do
Right.
do the job in that task thing and stuff like this. And it's like, okay, you're the booker. You deal with inbound, or you call people and you make appointments. Great. You can have somebody else who's then like, okay, I'm the confirmer, for example, or I'm the upseller, or like you're coming in tomorrow and I saw that you're booked for this, but did you also want this, or did you know? That's a different thing, isn't it? Right? Like
Right.
so that can be a different bit like this. So it's just optimizing the workflow. Or you were a customer of ours last year, but you've not been back. I'd like to offer. First of all, was there something that we did wrong? Get that feedback, and then number two, okay, if there wasn't, that's great. Is there something that we can do to get you back? Basically, that we've got this new special or whatever like that. But they'll say the same thing every time. They will never be like, oh, a bit sheepish or this, that. Like they will
Right.
they will capture the
Consistent
and if
response.
someone's like says that and someone says the most, I don't know, vitriolic feedback and like back, they'll just be polite and say, I'm sorry for your experience. So like, that it almost acts as a frustration buffer. It's like a crumple zone. Like
Right.
so like you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
crash
Yeah.
into the AI. So by the time you actually talk to a human,
And when you
your frustration is gone.
And when you think about that as an employee retention point of view, I mean, dealing with frustrated clients must be a negative to certain roles, particularly if it happens a lot. So to be able to, like you
Correct.
say, crumple zone that out, I mean, that's got to help make the client feel like they're
I was
being
talking to
heard.
one of my friends who works in a GP practice, like a doctor practice. He's got 800 phone calls coming in a day,
Wow.
800 calls a day, and the majority of people cannot get an appointment because it's just not capacity. And he said they have massive issues with staff members talking to patients rudely, and also you can say that like if staff are just burned out, they don't have time, they do different things, or they like just got new on the job, and then you got like to go to listen to the calls and understand who talked rudely, and there's a whole minefield in that. Versus if you had like first level AI filtering for everything, almost basically, then it'll be like, okay, we've got all your details, and we will be in touch, like within the next 15 minutes or whatever like this. Then you could have some kind of algorithm which is filtering, like, does this seem urgent or not, or whatever like this, and WhatsApp confirmation.
Right.
However you want to filter or triage, you can, as long as people know that they're in the loop and that
Yeah.
they communicated fully, and you could even email them a summary of the call if you wanted to, saying, thanks for logging this. Here's a copy of your call. So you've got everything recorded for you, whatever like this, and it's been logged. So I think that just adds trust and credibility to, that level of communication with the business, basically, isn't
Yeah.
it? So
Yeah, that's a great point. And we talked a lot about the kind of the setup and that first stage, but what you then do with the data and the next stage in the process. I mean, there's so many options further down that track. We should perhaps do another podcast a little bit down the track and talk about the use cases and how people are really streamlining those processes to make or those steps of the processes to make the whole thing as effective as possible. Time always goes too quick in every podcast that I do. It's crazy. What's the where can people find out more? So I really want to give people the opportunity, and I think as well really suggest that people just take a second and think about where this can sit in the process, because so often we hear that, hey, I've created the book and I've got this set up, but now I don't have time to deal with the rest of it. So from a book perspective or from a day-to-day business perspective, this is really worth just a second to think about how this could sit in. So where's a good place for people to find more?
Yeah, so they can get in touch on LinkedIn. So they hopefully can have my LinkedIn details like below there, but then also via our website, which is implementai.io. So www.implementai.io, and you can get in touch with us there. And we work with businesses, both for training their team, but also on transformation programs. And this forms part of what we call our AI Activate program, where we actually help businesses get kick-started to become AI transformed. And we literally help them implement a particular workflow. And we're finding voice is very popular at the moment, basically. So yeah.
Yeah, such a great opportunity to amplify your message in something that's consistent and really speeds up that process of moving the whole conversation forward. Aalok, always a pleasure. If I'll make sure that your LinkedIn details and the Implement AI ones are in the show notes so people can just click through.
Amazing.
And then I'll put a link to the site as well. And really, as people are listening to this, just take a second to think about how it could fit in, and then let me know as well. I'm always interested to see how people are using this to amplify their message. So yeah, let me know how it goes as well.
Brilliant.
Right, buddy.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
No problem. Thank you. We will speak again soon.